Verona Council, let's please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kenna, roll call.
President McCarthy.
Present.
Dr. Carpenter.
Present.
Mr. Forbeck.
Present.
Ms. Lualbo. Mr. Matlin.
Present.
Ms. Provenza.
Present.
Mr. Suchovich.
Here.
Mr. Alexander.
Here.
Mayor Recupero.
Present.
I'm also present.
Mr. Forback.
I'd like to make a motion to terminate Officer Anthony Ogline from the Verona Police Department.
I'll second that motion.
We have a second by Mrs. Lealba. Is there any questions? No questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Mr. Kenna.
I'm going to make a statement about it. I'm sure everybody's aware. Verona Borough has been in the spotlight for the past week. I'm sure you all have questions about what happened, when it happened, what the borough was aware of, and how we've reacted. I've prepared a statement to answer as many of these questions as I can. However, please understand that this is an active investigation and there are still details that we're not at liberty to discuss today. On Friday, January 17th, Police Chief Ron McLemore was informed of an investigation involving a missing 16-year-old male from the Whitehall area. This 16-year-old male was seen leaving a school building Thursday afternoon and was thought to be in the Verona area. According to Whitehall Police, there was a suspicion that Officer Anthony Ogline was involved. We were informed that the minor left the school and entered the suspect's vehicle at his own will, and this wasn't an abduction, but they would like to speak with Mr. Ogline. At this point, Chief McLemore called Mayor Recupero and myself and informed us of the situation. We immediately relieved Mr. Ogline of duty, placing him on administrative leave pending the investigation. The following week, we were contacted by Allegheny County detectives and informed of the pending charges against Officer Ogline. We were made aware of the severity of these charges, and we scheduled a Loudermill hearing for Mr. Ogline and informed him that he was then suspended without pay effective immediately. The Loudermill hearing took place on Thursday, January 23rd at 5:30. Attending that meeting was the police committee, Mr. Forbeck, Mr. McCarthy, Ms. Lualbo, as well as the mayor, the chief of police, Mr. Alexander, and myself. A Loudermill hearing is a minimal due process requirement for all public service employees prior to the council deciding on any disciplinary action that will affect their income. Since council was considering termination, a Loudermill hearing was required. At 6 p.m. today, the police committee met with the remainder of council and brought everyone else up to speed on the situation and their findings from the Loudermill hearing. As you just witnessed, council has decided to terminate Mr. Ogline effective immediately. At this point, I'd like to stress to everyone that this action of one man was not the entire police department or this community. All of our officers, including Mr. Ogline, are subject to all necessary background checks required by Act 120. Verona Borough is an amazing town, growing at an extremely impressive rate with new businesses and new families choosing to call it home. It's extremely important that we don't allow the actions of this one man to define our community or our police department. Our officers work very hard and do an amazing job, and Mr. Ogline's behavior cannot overshadow the work that they do every day. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm sure that you'll have more questions, but please understand that due to the nature of these investigations, we will not be able to elaborate any further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenna. At this time, we'll proceed with the regular meeting and hear comments from the audience related to agenda items. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Joseph Warren from Vogels Lane. I just came in a couple minutes late. I just want to thank you for your swift action. Appreciate that. Really pressing. I had a lot of questions. I think you just answered a couple of them. So thanks for working together on that quickly. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other comments? Okay. Reports of correspondence.
I have a handful of items. The first being that we need to pass the meeting minutes that were distributed for the regular business meeting earlier this month.
I have a motion on the meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Provenza. Are there any questions? No questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay. Next on my list is Matt spoke with Duquesne Light regarding some of the street lights that are out. There's no set fee on the cost to remove them, but if we can give them a list of what not traffic lights, but street lights that they want out, that they'll generate a quote so that we can get an idea of what it costs. So Matt wanted to know who should, do we want to get together, figure out what lights need to come down and like that, so we can handle that. We need to kind of come up with a plan for that. I know that you had the Second Street update on there. Do you want me to wait?
On my agenda. Yeah, go ahead. Comment on that.
The new pipe is in. The old pipe is filled with grout. The paving is going to begin in the spring, as well as the concrete at the bottom at Wildwood. Basically, we decided to, along the shoulder on Second, to hold off since it's only going to be a few months before we start paving anyway, just to have the gravel there. And it saved us a substantial amount of money considering the concrete at the bottom of the hill is going to be a lot more money than we thought. So it was kind of trying to level things off and try to keep the budget the same. And then the concrete at Wildwood, I believe, is going to be cold patch until the spring to prevent the concrete from being damaged by salt. So it's an update on that. The Oakmont Water Authority is planning on replacing water lines in Diamond Way this spring, summer, I think, from Center all the way to James. So they're going to be digging a trench and cutting into the street. They wanted to know if we wanted to take the opportunity to pave it. They would split the cost of basically they would cover the cost of anything that they disturbed. Matt threw some numbers together. We're looking at about $38,000 out of the budget, but that would repave Diamond Way from Center all the way to James. So we don't have to make the decision tonight, but we should probably discuss it and probably make the decision at the next meeting, because Oakmont Water, it's going to change their scope of work. So,
Wasn't there something on the 700 block from when they had breaks or something before they were supposed to fix that up?
I have to check, I'm not sure, off the top of my head.
Because there was something I remember, when they had them couple breaks back there in the sewer and all that, there was some, I don't remember it all.
Next on my list, a business on Jones Street. It's a newer business called Shift. It's a consignment shop. Wanted to know if we would be willing to close Diamond Way behind them this weekend for a certain number of hours. And I can confirm the hours, but it would only be part of, I think, Saturday or Sunday. They want to have like a street sale back there and use this and have like a little party.
Are you talking the side street
No.
or the alley behind?
Diamond behind.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay,
They
I'll
want
get
the
you-
whole, we'll have to shut the whole thing down.
It's gonna have to be the whole thing, yeah. So I'll
From
get
center
you-
to Jane,
Right.
from center to south.
Well,
No.
no, from James to Grant,
Right,
Oh, okay, James to Grant, okay.
and that little alley going towards Diamond Way.
yeah, so we wouldn't have
Off
to.
of Jones.
We could close it after the Conco parking lot so that they could still use it, but it would have to be closed to through traffic.
Right.
All right, so I'll get with you with specifics. Does anybody on council have a problem with it?
No.
No. Okay.
And that's when, what day?
It's either gonna be Saturday or Sunday. I'll get you the specifics.
This weekend?
Yes. They wanted to do it last weekend. I made them wait till this weekend so I could at least talk to you guys. I received a visit from a woman that works for the Census Bureau. The 2020 census is coming up this year, and they're looking for Verona residents that would be willing to be census takers. Basically, you would be given a list of people that haven't taken the census yet, and you would set up time on your own time, any day of the week, any time of day, to go either set up and help them, go to their house, call them, walk them through the process. It pays $23.50 an hour, and they need 15 people, and they have to be from Verona. So if you're... I don't know that. But I have some paperwork, I have an email with a flyer, so if anybody's interested, let me know. And the last thing I have is, we were contacted by the owner of 925 First Street. He is also the owner of the lot at 510 Ridge. And he is requesting a reverse subdivision from the county just to combine the lots. really wouldn't change anything for the borough, except he would get one property tax bill instead of two. So he needs on borough letterhead, a letter from us, from me, that says the Verona Borough doesn't have a problem with it. So I would need a motion from council to approve that.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
First by Mr. Sutter, second by Mr. Forbeck. Are there any questions?
Are those adjacent properties?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a corner.
So Mark Stanton has addressed this issue with me as well, and see, he wasn't familiar with such a case. I told Mark that it's common practice in Pennsylvania to have multi-parcel deeds, and I run across them all the time. It's not a subdivision, it's not a lot consolidation, it's just that you have two pieces of property on one deed. And as Mr. Kenna indicated, you get one tax bill as a result, and I don't have any objection to the borough authorizing Jerry to issue that letter.
Okay, no further questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passed.
That's everything I have. Thank you.
Okay. I have nothing at this time. Mr. Matlin.
I just wanted to bring up some of the recent issues with garbage and recycling collection. I know Jerry's been working on this, and I know there's been various issues. One is the mailing list. People didn't get the letters that went out announcing the change. We got a letter to the borough office here from Anita Berardi about her missed pickup. I've heard from numerous other residents about missed pickups. I just wanted to talk about, what's ongoing, what's been done, and what else we can do going forward to make sure that people aren't, coming out with mass complaints. I don't know if you have any updates, Jerry, on what the latest from county hauling is.
We've been handling the complaints as they come in between Marcia and I. Most of them come through the borough office, and Marcia deals with them, and we forward them on to county hauling. We've had numerous complaints, and unfortunately, it's typically the same houses over and over again, same blocks over and over again. It's really frustrating. We had a house that we brought to their attention last Friday, and as of this morning, it wasn't picked up, and there was trash all over the street and everything else. So it's a constant frustration.
Now, in the contract, is there something about repeated misses that we can hold them accountable for?
I believe there's a percentage of, if the percentage of homes that they're missing compared to homes in Verona is over a certain amount. I don't know that we're there. We've been tracking complaints closely. Marcia has a spreadsheet listing them all. It's something the council needs to consider, whether or not, I don't know the legalities of it. Craig would have to enlighten on that, but, we have a bond. Sure. And if council decides that they are unhappy with county hauling and Craig thinks that we have a leg to stand on, then call the bond, cancel the contract.
I guess I would be interested if they are meeting obligations according to whatever the contract is in those percentages, and that's probably what we'd have to go back and investigate. Are these number of houses, do they fall within that realm? So it's oddly enough that it's the same houses too.
Yeah, are they sending you monthly reports or exception list reports? I mean, there's a lot in the contract about them being required to submit reports and respond to misses within a certain period of time. And so you said Marcia's documenting all of that?
Yeah, Marcia's documenting everything.
Okay, so.
And I can say this, that it appears to me that county hauling is doing the same exact things that they're doing here in Verona Borough and multiple other communities that they've been able to obtain garbage hauling contracts with. I know that North Huntington Township has recently appointed them as their garbage hauler and immediately came into many of these same problems and they're addressing them with county hauling. I know that the city of McKeesport is also having some significant problems with county hauling. I don't know about Oakmont. I think I overheard that Oakmont has recently hired them as well. So I would suspect that they're going to run into the same problems.
We're having the same problems.
So at some point, county hauling is either going to rectify it or they're going to be hit hard with some significant issues with multiple communities.
I honestly, it's my opinion that once the first community actually takes action, they're gonna fall like dominoes. I don't think anybody wants to be the first community to pull the contract.
Well, I think you'd have to make sure that there's a plan in place for
The next contract.
taking care of that. I mean, to step in and change garbage haulers is a pretty big deal. I mean,
It's a very
we saw
big
that last
deal.
year. But at the same time, I think we need to try to keep documenting what's been done. And I guess if people are having issues, should they be calling the borough office or should they be calling county hauling or both?
So my suggestion to everybody is to call county hauling.
Okay.
But it seems like most of the time to get it rectified, it's Marcia or myself getting a hold of county hauling directly and being aggressive.
Have we sent any documentation to county hauling?
We had a sit-down meeting with them a couple months ago. I forget when it was.
Okay.
November. Basically, they were getting to the end of their ramp-up period, according to the contract, and we had to sit down, Matt and I and Pete from County Hauling, and gave him a letter that he signed that we were at our end as far as misses, and that this was your official notice that this has to change. That's where we are with it, so.
Do you think a letter from Craig would make any difference?
I don't think it could hurt.
Maybe you should draft a letter.
I'd be happy to.
And send it.
I was supposed to be at the meeting that Jerry just referenced, but I can't remember what transpired, but I was unable to be there that day.
I think you should write a letter.
I'll be happy to.
Would that help, Dave?
Yeah, I think that's a good start. I think I kind of wanted to make sure everyone was aware of what, I knew that Jerry and Marcia were both doing things behind the scenes, and I wanted to make sure people are aware that we are addressing or trying to address what we can. I want to continue to do that. So, I'll work with Jerry and the rest of the council to make sure that we keep them to their contract. So,
Thanks, Dave.
That's all I have.
Anything else?
that's it.
Thanks, Dave.
Dr. Carpenter?
Okay, so we had our ordinance meeting on yesterday at 3 o'clock, and we went over many things. We have started the process of an Airbnb ordinance, but a lot of research is required, further research is required till we get that taken care of. In the course of the meeting, it came to our attention that there are a couple of homes that we would like to have a sheriff's sale on, and that requires a motion. So I'd like to make a motion to have a sheriff's sale for 704 Athletic Rear. Do I have to say the name? Okay. Apparently this property is in arrears of its taxes and is distressing to the neighborhood. So I'm making that motion to sheriff's sale 704 Athletic Street in the rear.
I'll second that.
Dr. Carpenter had it first, Mr. Suchovich second. Are there any questions?
What were the steps leading up to this property?
It was advised by Mark Stanton, our code enforcement officer, to take care of the situation, and I think that our solicitor agreed.
Apparently, Mark's been receiving significant complaints in the area with regard to this piece of property. It used to be the family lived in the front of the house and they rented out this back portion of property, or was used for the mother-in-law. At some point they lost the front house to the bank and moved into the back house. There's been a lot of issues with the house, various activity that's not desirable, and Mark has just received significant complaints. It's in a very dilapidated state, and Mark believes that it's unsafe for current habitation, and he's requested that it be demolished. So that's why, no, he's requesting to be sheriff sold. So that's what we're attempting to do in order to get it back on the tax rolls and rehabilitate it.
Any other questions?
What's the reason for, like, why would we do a sheriff's sale instead of demolition?
Because Mark believes it can be rehabilitated.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed.
So in that same vein, there's another property at 638 Second Street that has similar issues, and it was recommended by Mark Stanton, our code enforcement person, to also put that property at 638 Second Street up for sheriff's sale. So I'd like to make a motion for a sheriff's sale for 638 Second Street.
Motion for the sheriff's sale at 638 Second Street. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Forback, second. Are there any questions? No questions?
Similar to the first one?
Similar to the first one, and as Jerry pointed out, when it gets sheriff sold, the taxes will hopefully get paid and we'll recoup our portion of the money. We're actually going to reach out to Riverview School District and see if they would share in the cost of these sheriff sales, similar to how Riverview reaches out to us to seek our participation when they choose to sheriff sell a house.
So there's many advantages as I see it. Somebody gets a house that is someone who likes to rehabilitate houses, gets a house for a very low amount of money compared to what it would be worth if it was in good shape, and the borough would get their back taxes paid minus a few dollars due to fees or whatever. And the school district would also get their back taxes paid. So there's a lot of advantages to doing that.
Okay, the motion on the floor, let's finish it. Any questions? Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Go ahead.
Also, Mike Forbeck has joined the ordinance committee, and he is going to be taking the reins of getting a new comprehensive plan in place for the borough. So thank you, Mike. And so in the future, when there's updates on the comprehensive plan, Mr. Forbeck will be making that report.
That's actually a big deal because,
Yeah.
you know, the comprehensive plans in a lot of communities are way stale. And I think that, you know, Mike helping update, taking charge to help update your comprehensive plan is something that's been necessary for a long, long time.
So in terms of, for tonight, I think that's the highlights. Any questions about that, any other ordinances, feel free to contact me. That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Carpenter. Mr. Forback.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two things. One is we ratified the police contract. That's in effect. And the second, we agreed to increase the part-time police officers effective February 1st to $20 an hour.
Okay.
So you want to you're making a motion to ratify the closing of the police contract, right?
Correct.
Second.
First by Mr. Forback, second by Mrs. Lealba to ratify the police contract. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed.
I'd like to thank the board for the increase in the part-time wages. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But we didn't ratify that.
Do we need to make a motion?
You're going to make a motion
To raise that.
Second is, raise the motion to increase the part-time officers.
I'll second that.
Motion was made by Mr. Forback, second by Dr. Carpenter. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Anything else? Mr. Suchovich.
Went over to Bill's last public area, everything seems to be good. Nothing really going on right now with the budget and finance, so I have nothing else at this time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Albo.
I'd just like to mention, February 4th will be the first record meeting here at the Borough Building at 7 o'clock. Members of Rec Board met with some members of Verona's rec board last Wednesday at,
With Oakmonts.
with Oakmont, I'm sorry, with Oakmont at Zone 28, just a little get together and maybe share some ideas and things like that, get to know their rec board. There are some upcoming events, maybe we can share, our events and fundraisers and things like that, make it a more multi-community. So it was a nice get together. And so hopefully we will be in the planning process for, events for the summer, movies, things in the parks. So it'll be hopefully a nice fun summer for our citizens and go on from there. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Provenzo.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm going to start with a newsletter. It's time again. It seems like time goes quicker than we realize. All the ads and articles are due Monday, March the 2nd, and that's to go to publication. If you can get them in sooner, we would more than appreciate it, because we like to get our newsletter out early so that it's in your mailbox by the first of the month. And also, for articles, you can contact our editor, Donald Worf, and his email address is veronanewsroom@gmail.com. And I'll be glad to take care of any ads, and I can be reached without a problem. I'm in the phone book. Secondly, tomorrow evening is the community dinner, and that's held here at the Verona Methodist Church on Center Avenue, and that runs from 4 to 6 p.m. And the hosting folks will be the Presbyterian Senior Care providing the meals. And tomorrow evening, our Verona Community Group will have a brief meeting at Rhea and her husband Josh's place. That's the Homas. It will be held at their residence at 7 p.m. And also, tomorrow evening, they're going to be doing the sorting of the plastic film. They have achieved a wonderful goal with this plastic. Trex is now going to get us a bench from all that 500 pounds of plastic that was collected. They're going to make a bench out of it, and they're going to give it to us here in the borough. And they do need volunteers for tomorrow evening to help sort this plastic and get it bagged, because it will go to a large facility and from there to Trex. So if anybody's able to help, again, their address is 742 Brunot Street. It's right on the corner of Brunot and Center Avenue. And she said, just come in the front door, not through the basement, because there will be a meeting first, just a brief one. Also, the Verona Community Group is going to sponsor a bingo, and it's going to be at the Eagles here in town, and it starts this Friday, January 31st. And it will be held 3 other consecutive Fridays, which will be the Friday, February the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st. And these are all in February. And on February 14th, they're going to have a Chinese auction. So if you would like to donate a basket, it would be more than appreciated. Please do so, because this is for a good cause. This fundraiser is going to be used for our 150th anniversary, which is coming up next year. So please support this very worthy cause. And again, if you can do a basket, we would more than appreciate it. Also, we have the spring tree pruning coming up, and that'll be Saturday, February 22nd, and that goes from 9 till noon. And we definitely need volunteers for that, and I am very grateful to Laura Jacko. She is the one that's spearheading this. So thank you, Laura. We appreciate you. And the Historical Society meeting will be Thursday, February 20th at 7 p.m., a short meeting. And then we have our film, and the film is going to be entitled Oakland. And these films are wonderful. If you're not coming, you're missing a great film. Last month we had South Side, and it was just an amazing, amazing film. You don't even realize some of the things that are here in your own area. So Historical Society will be Thursday, February 20th. And lastly, but certainly not least, we need more block watch captains. And we're pretty good up here on the hill, but we need them at the West Railroad Avenue area down to the river. So that would be Penn Street, that whole area down there. So if anybody can possibly take this position as block watch captains, we really need them, and you can contact Obie Morford. She'd be glad to assist you with this. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Did you want to do the motions for the zone?
Yes, I can do that.
Excuse me, can I just say one more thing?
Go ahead.
I apologize. I didn't see Trish behind Laura, so Trish is also with the block watch, so if you'd like to volunteer, please see Trish. And I thank you, Trish, appreciate you very much.
Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Go ahead, Dr. Carpenter.
Okay, I regretfully forgot to make the motion to reappoint Angela Acapinti and Donald Wharf to the zoning hearing board. So I'd like to make that motion at this time.
I'll second it.
Dr. Carpenter's made the motion to the zoning hearing board. Ms. Provenza seconded. Are there any questions? No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I don't remember, I reported on it at the regular business meeting. I don't remember exactly how many years the term is. I think it's a 5-year term, but whatever it is, it's a full term, reappointment term.
Okay.
Still, I think it's more than 3. They changed it, I think, but it's till December 31st of that year, at the end of the term.
Okay.
And
We'll send a letter out, and we're keeping an updated list of that now.
it is a three, it
I think
is.
that they
Angela
changed it.
says 3 years here.
I think it's a
Is that
3-year
just
term.
a start?
Whatever you call it.
3.
Okay.
And then 4, yeah.
I'll double check that.
At any rate, and then I think we agreed to hold
Hold
off
off on the alternates at this point,
on the fifth
vacancy.
person
and the vacancy as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So that gives the zoning hearing board 4 current appointees. And just so the public's aware, there is a zoning hearing board meeting this Thursday at 7 o'clock to discuss a possible variance of a piece of property. I don't remember what the name, it's just on School Street?
471 Center.
471 Center, to convert from a single-family use to a multifamily use.
Okay. Allegheny League of Municipalities are, and I don't think you've gone to COG at all.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pat, excuse me.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, for Allegheny League of Municipalities,
Yes.
as the delegate, I have sent in all the paperwork, and we're just waiting to hear that it's been finalized and is in good
Okay.
shape.
For the
Thank you.
Banner community.
That's for
Okay.
Banner Community here for our borough.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll hear comments from the public. Please approach the bench or the podium and state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Rhoda Wharf, 636 3rd Street. I don't know which committee would include landscaping, but I just wanted to know, because I brought up the last meeting about some of the changes that I think should be addressed, or should be addressed, actually. And I don't know if it would be wise to form maybe an adjunct committee, because I know everybody's busy with other things, to address this endeavor. I don't know if that'd be an idea to toss around. Also, I like to do follow-throughs, follow-ups from the last meeting. Our website, I don't know where we are.
So
Everybody, it's a great source of information.
the website's been updated for everything.
Really? Okay.
Everything?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to revisit it.
I didn't look at the whole website. I know there's been some updates.
Yeah, all the committees are updated, the council members are updated.
Okay.
It's all updated. The forms page is completely different.
Okay.
All updated with updated forms.
Zoning board's this
I'll have to
Thursday, right?
revisit it.
Yeah, check it out.
Also, you were doing such a great job with the summaries of meetings.
Yeah, I'm gonna put together an article for the newsletter.
Okay, that too, but even if on the website, maybe you can put like little snippets of, because some people can't attend the meetings, maybe that would keep them updated. So, also, I use this room, I think maybe more than anyone, for the Historical Society. And when we come, that computer that we have, that we originally bought for PowerPoint presentations, things like that, really doesn't work. We brought our own computer from home, but I wanted to know if we could look into that.
Yep.
Okay. Also, the water line from by the gazebo, has that been repaired? Because we really need that as a source of water when we have our flowers. Because I don't think it was drained, or somebody told us that it wasn't really drained and the power, or the pipe cracked, or what have you. Can we look into that?
If they have,
Whose committee?
Dave,
Okay,
Jerry will talk with.
I'll talk with Jerry and
okay.
we'll look into it.
Okay, great. How about the marquee up at Cribs Field? Mike, it was a great idea. Is there some way we can fix that? Because it's wonderful.
We're looking into another idea with it, maybe doing magnetic letterings.
Okay.
Because the letters that we have now, they're so fragile, they break very easily. They don't fit into that boarding when it was destroyed, so we need to get a whole new setup and hopefully get something that'll fit in it. I am looking into that.
Okay, hopefully in a timely
this
manner.
spring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Janet, Matt actually brought up to me that he was thinking if we can, with the pavilion and it's a Cribs, that we might be able to figure out a way to put a digital display up there.
Oh, that's
We're working on that
That's even
possibility.
better. Because a lot of people, we depend on that
Oh, I
as a
know.
source of info.
Yep.
Also, cameras. Cameras are so crucial. We really need to update our camera system and even add to the system. I mean,
Being looked into.
it's good for
Mr. Forback
solving
just took
crimes
over.
and what have you. Okay, I'm going to check up on that in the next meeting. Traffic, hasn't been any police presence on ARB. People are flying 90 miles an hour going on ARB. It is so dangerous. I mean, like I said, I'm down in Verona every day. I'm downtown. And I can't tell you how fast some of those cars are going. They're going so fast that I can't tell if it's a man or a woman driving the car. And it's unacceptable in a small town. Unacceptable. PennDOT, I don't know who we can call. I'm just waiting for a serious accident, I'm not sure. So that needs to be addressed. And you had made a comment about the police salaries. $20 part-time, what's our full-time
They're under contract. Their contract has already been handled.
Well, I know, but what are we paying our full-time people?
Off the top of my head, it's approximately $23.50, approximately.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Just so we're, competitive with other, municipalities. Also, the parking near the post office, it's like suicide. And you know what's happening is a lot of people, we don't see any white lines, so people are actually getting out of their cars to go to the post office, but if you're not paying attention, you're seeing cars and you think there's two lanes, one turning and one going straight, so there's a little bit of chaos there sometimes in the morning. So I don't know if it would be, a good idea if we would put, the markers that we did for parking on the main drag, if that wouldn't be a good idea for safety. Or, here's a better one. How about if we put the cones that say, like they have up in Oakmont, about, walking, because really, a lot of people park their
You
car.
have to have a crosswalk there.
Yes.
To do that.
Maybe we can do something like that, something creative for
We'll talk to
safety.
Matt.
For where again?
Where the post office is,
Where the light is.
where the light is, the new light.
That's where you're supposed to park. Right in front of the
Was like one of the crosswalk signs you're talking about?
We could put, I think it would be wise if we put something there, number one, to slow traffic, and also safety, major safety.
I feel like buses would hit it making a turn from Wildwood onto ARB. That's where.
You can bring it down further, you can bring it down further.
There's two crosswalks at the
We
intersections.
can always try
I'm
it.
just trying to picture where it is, that's all.
Yeah, we could try it. Also, this is my opinion, I feel we're wasting a lot of taxpayer dollars with the employment of Carrie Del Rosso, I think that's her last name. We have Curtis that has a tech service, number one, which is very efficient. We have the Still City Marquee, which is very efficient, and we also have Mike DiVictorio, who comes to all our meetings. And instead of paying Carrie, I was told it's like $50 an hour. You know, we're sitting here always bickering about how much we should, increase our police salaries. Here's a good avenue to take, use that money to give to our part-timers or our full-time police. My opinion. Also about the garbage on Center Avenue, terrible, terrible. It needs to be addressed. And also the recycling bins on the side of the building have been cleaned up tremendously. But I want to know, what are we doing with the newspapers? And I know we have had this conversation years ago. Are we getting any money for recycling like we used to from the state?
Yep. The
Okay.
904 grant?
Pardon?
The 904 grant?
Yeah, but are we getting it with those, I know Abitibi doesn't have that, the company no longer exists. Who has those newspaper bins?
I don't know.
I don't know who has them.
That's what I'm saying.
But Verona's getting money.
Yeah.
They're getting the 904 grant money for that every town.
But from those two particular,
Correct.
okay, and the aluminum cans?
Yes.
Okay, and that's all one big package?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that could be reported. so we know.
And every company every business in this town that recycles gets counted in that.
Okay,
Giant
well, I
Eagle.
was more concerned about what we have here, as long as we're getting credit, because sometimes it gets unsightly there, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Laura Jacko, 437 North Avenue. I know you already know it, but I have to say it. I guess first thing is with the recycling, since I know that Rhea's program is going to be coming to close in the early spring, it might be good to look into what we can do to replace that. She did collect a lot of plastic film, like an overwhelming amount of plastic film to the point where it's taken over a complete basement. Which to me shows that there's a need and a want for that here in Verona, and we don't have that. I know there's lots of different communities that do special recycling days or things like that. I think something that can be done to continue that plastic film recycling program would be a good idea, because clearly there is a demonstrated need for that in Verona, as well as glass collecting. I don't know, when I was running in and out to take care of my 2-year-old, if anybody addressed the glass situation yet, but something needs to be done about that, since it is the most highly recyclable material, or one of the most, and it's heavy, so we would get, if we're getting grant credit for it, that's something that we should really be making sure that we're doing. And I do know that there are glass recycling plants in PA that do purchase glass, so it's not like one of those plastic issues where there's a lack of demand that's causing an issue. There's demand for it, so I'd like that to be something council looks into. The thing that I'm actually really mostly concerned about tonight is I would like to know if anybody has any good information about what's going on with the train-owned property down here behind the Get-Go. There's been some rumors and people talking about it online, and some concern as to what's going on down there, since the property is recently being, there's been some changes made to that property. Does anybody know what's going on there?
When you're done with your comments, I'll address that.
Okay. What's the answer? Do we know?
I said, when you're done with all your comments, with addressing the board, I'll address that, the train on the property with you.
Right. Oh, you mean like one-on-one?
No, when you're finished, then
Because my comments sort of are contingent upon what the answer is to what's going on with that property.
Do you mind if I address it now, Mr. President?
Go ahead, please.
So, the railroad is a entity that's governed by the PUC.
It's governed, I believe it's controlled by the national government, so the state and local governments don't really have any say over it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So the state and local governments have very little say over that property. Road has been involved in it a lot over the years. We've tried to get them to cooperate with us for a long period of time. They routinely thumb their noses at us. They wouldn't even let us trim weeds down on West Railroad, a little bit further down. When they were overgrown, they threatened to sue us and take us to court. So this is brought to my attention through our Ordinance and Code Committee, and we're trying to see what we can do on our local roads to put protections in place, maybe some weight limits on the roads, things like that. There's no way we can zone them out. There's no way we can enforce our codes against them on that property. There, as you already know, so you came well informed that our local regulations don't apply to them unless we can put those on our own roads.
So the answer I'm getting from you is that they are looking at putting some sort of a...
Oh, I don't know that. I don't know that.
Because you said something about weight limits on...
I'm hearing the same thing as you guys are hearing, that that's supposed to be some transport station. We've never seen anything come across our desks as to what they plan to use that property for. I remember a number of years ago when we condemned the property to try to get it as a park from the Burroughs family, and then they sold it to the railroad, and then the railroad sued us in federal court for trying to condemn property that they own, and we were...
Yes, they're a delight, aren't they?
Yeah, there was talk at that time about them using that as some sort of a transport station. So it's conjecture. So it's conjecture to me, as it is to you, that what they're going to use that property for, but we are looking into it with the presumption that that may be what they're doing it.
Okay, so I would like to get an answer as to what's going on there, because it sounds like there's been some recent activity. You know, over the course of the years that I've been here, I have been here since 2013, so I have seen some of this happen, and I know 2013 is not a lot to some people. There's a lady on my street that's literally been here for 90 years, so I get that's nothing, but for me it's something. So I have seen some of that happen. There is recent activity from my understanding. If that's something, I think that should be extremely concerning to us, given those issues, as well as the neighboring boroughs such as Oakmont and Pat Hills. If someone could please look into it and get me an answer, that would be great, because we really need to keep an eye on top of what's going on there. Because if they do open some sort of an industrial truck depot here, there's no overstating the negative impacts that will have on our community. I actually, for your consideration, I did a little bit of research and I printed out some articles, and a lot of these are related to traffic that's related to like fracking, because these are other communities that are impacted by like large 18-wheelers that are suddenly coming on roads that weren't meant for them. However, they have caused damages in the tunes of millions of dollars to their local communities, as well as there is concerns for what this does for the local air pollution. My child, who I know has to go sit up there because he's not very good at sitting through a meeting, go figure, he has sensitive lungs. He was a premature child. My husband has asthma. Bringing these sorts of things into our community will have extremely negative health impacts for people. I did do some research, and I do have scientific articles printed out about this. But again, like, even if we don't care about people's health, which we should, just because it's a good thing to do, as far as caring about the health of the borough and keeping Verona on a good path, if we have to start replacing roads constantly due to truck impact, which is what will happen if 18-wheelers start coming up and down these streets, there's no way we'll be able to keep up with taxpayer dollars. We'll just be replacing roads, and I just don't even see how in our budget that would work. And the same thing with Oakmont. And then as far as, like, I know there was concern about traffic earlier with people speeding. Statistically speaking, these 18-wheelers are much more dangerous. They've been associated with, again, the studies that I can print out for your consideration next time, with much more fatalities, with greater incidence of traffic accidents. So tractor trailers are more likely to get in accidents than just cars or even speeding cars. And then the type of materials that are being freighted on these lines are often things like coal, oil, gas, like things that if there is a spill, I just don't think Verona is prepared for. So there's no overstating how serious this issue is. So I'd really like to get an answer ASAP so that we can move forward with our neighboring communities about how this is going to be addressed, to make sure that to do what we can, because I just don't see a way in which, if this happens, this doesn't severely negatively impact the entire community and everybody in it. If you'd like, I have the articles for everybody's consideration. I highlighted the parts that I thought would be of most interest, because I know we're all very busy. Again, some of this is related to like fracking issues, but again, it's showing what happens when small roads suddenly have 18-wheeler trucks come up and down them all the time. So would anybody like some scientific handouts? I've got some papers for you.
Yeah, be more than glad.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
How about you? Feel like some light reading to get you
love
through the
it.
night? Okay.
Thank you.
Tomorrow. The other things we get to do tonight.
Thank you. And I know that we all know I'm our local environmental hawk, but this is actually a lot more to do with industry and keeping our borough a livable place, making sure our businesses can thrive, and the same thing for people that live in Oakmont Dairy. This is gonna also severely negatively impact Oakmont if this is something that happens. So who is a good person who I can go to for an answer on this as soon as we can get one?
Our biggest problem is if the railroad won't tell us what they're gonna do.
Well, I mean, someone needs to reach out, right?
We have been reaching out. And we haven't gotten,
Yeah, I had lunch with Adam from Carload Express at the end of last year.
Okay.
And he didn't really have anything that he would share with me, that they were looking for a tenant.
What does that mean?
That's about exactly what I thought. I don't know. They said they thought they had one and it fell through, and they're not building anything until they have a tenant, so they know what to build. So I don't think, I don't know. I know as much as you do.
Is there anything else we can do to find out more information? Because I think that this is something that should be extremely concerning to everybody, and we need to get on it as soon as possible.
But as Mr. Alexander said, the railroad has rights that we can't impact.
I know they do, but there are still things we can do, so.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So Jerry, are you saying that you're the one, because you're the one that's had lunch with some of the gentlemen that work there?
Yeah, I mean, you could reach out to me and I can get you information as I have it.
Okay. Do we have any follow-ups with them as far as like next steps, when we can reach out to them again?
I'll reach out to them again and see what they can get.
Thank you. I know you know how to get in touch with me, because
I
I
do.
annoy you, but that's okay. I still like you. Or I hope you still like me. I don't
Thanks,
know.
Mom.
All right, that was pretty much the big ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Joey Warren from Vogel's Lane. I echo those same concerns for infrastructure and public safety that were just noted. That's what she shared. I have a couple of requests. We were one of the beneficiaries of the LED lights that came in through the community recently, and I can tell you that our home security cameras work a lot better at night because of those. I do bus stop for my daughter in the morning, and I'd like to have a request for the 500 block of South to have the lights at the intersection of 2nd and South. And also where the bus stop is, be LED lit if you can. I don't have the poll numbers, but if Matt has a roster of polls.
It's already happening. It's just a matter of Duquesne Light getting there. Yeah, 2nd and South, the entire roads.
Thank you.
They were all
Yeah,
on the
I
list.
have the list, I could send that to you too.
Yeah, pretty much every main road was on the list. So just a
Of
matter
concern this morning, there was, the bus came through at the intersection, parked, fire truck was on a call early this morning at 7:06, came through, went through that four-way, and there was a student that was late running across the street, and it's yellow, and you can just see a distinct difference between LED and yellow. It's one of those things where kids don't know the difference, they're just running the bus, so appreciate that being on the list. The other thing was if I could get clarity on the 2nd Street paving. I know that the project had extended from July 18 of 2019 is when it had occurred. We're looking to have pavement November, December, into January. Now we're going into February. I understand some of the work is done. What's the date for the paving that you're expecting when you say spring?
So the contract for paving was actually the contract for last year's paving project, which is done by Holbein. The company that's handling the pipe repair is Pampina. So the contract that we had for paving for 2019 is being held until 2020. The plan is, and I don't have an exact date because of the weather, but as soon as the asphalt plant's open, we're first on the list for Holbein to come and pave all of 2nd. So it'll all be done, the whole paving project.
Just because I don't know, like when do asphalt plants start for the year from years past that we worked with them?
They start middle of March, depending on the weather.
Okay.
It's all dependent on the weather, that's why they shut down.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. And also, if you would consider, Mike, taking a look at the some of the reports that came back through, we were at Allegheny Together community at some point. So I know there's a lot of data when you're doing the comprehensive plan, where I know there were some tactics as far as being commercial and business friendly, along with being for residents as well. Didn't know if that's something under consideration or not.
I have it.
The other thing was I wanted to note, neighbor across the street is one of the residences that did not get trash pickup. And that same week, I had trash and recycling, and they threw away all my recycling in the trash. So I witnessed that with my new cameras with the LEDs. So I saw that. That's an issue. One thing I did want to make note of is when we received our first bill, we were being addressed as the owner of the property from 2 owners ago. So I want to take a look at what information they're using for billing, because that might be a reflection of the pickup. Because there's a difference, a great difference, especially in this community where we're split almost 50-50 for rentals and owners, that it might be residents and residences are not differentiated. So they might be skipping because it's not something they've seen.
They're not supposed to be skipping. They're supposed to be going down the street and taking every can that's on the street.
Regardless of whether you're being invoiced or not, or charging, they're just picking up everything.
Because they're instructed that even if you're not paying the bill, they're to reach out to us before they stop collecting. And then we handle code enforcement. So they should be picking up every can, whether or not the billing, one has nothing to do with the other.
So regardless if 2/3 of us pay the bill, like the pricing doesn't go up or down, it's all the same.
It's the contract price.
Wow.
So we have the power to go after them for not paying for their bill. So they should be picking up the garbage regardless of who owns the house.
Okay. The other thing too is, I know it was mentioned earlier, I'd appreciate if you guys do take a look at, these are ongoing issues, if you take a look at maybe the bond and you do have a new contract that you're gonna explore, if you could take a look at frequency, please. I know our household does composting, we also have recycling, and we pack our recycling container faster than we do for the trash. So if that's something you can look at for frequency, or if you can have possibility where you have larger households that could have a second container, explore something, but I think there's just other ways to do that, especially if, like we had heard earlier, by the pound glasses is something that's viable where people want to purchase that back.
I can get you another container, I believe.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I think that was it. Appreciate you guys answering those questions.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Angela, Penny 521 Center Avenue. At the last council meeting, I was talking about getting some quotes for some watering, and I have them, because we're ready to send our baskets out to be planted, and I just wanted to touch base and make sure that we're okay with this. So I got 2 quotes, and I did give the copies to Nancy. The first one was from Stockman, and they only do 6 days a week. They do not work Sunday, so that would still be an obstacle as to what we're gonna do for Sunday. So their quote came in at $68 a day. So if you times that by, and this is an approximate, if you times that by 127 days, that's taking out all the Sundays that they're not gonna be doing any watering, comes out to $86.36. And then I got another estimate from Darren Huck. He's up on Second Street. He's Patty Tuminilla's son. And he has proposed to do all the watering in town 7 days a week for $15 an hour. So I took the $15 an hour and times that by approximately 3 hours a day, because that's probably what it's gonna take. It'd be $45 a day. Take $45 times 150 days, which includes Sunday, it comes out to $67.50. And that's taking care of all the watering. That's the Doughboy, that's the Veterans Wall, that's the street planters, that's the baskets, that's the gazebo. So that's all the watering.
How many days did you say that was?
7.
No, I'm talking.
150.
150. 150, I approximated it from mid-May to mid-October. It's about 150. So it's considerably less, because just Stockman, just for the baskets, is $86.36. Then you'd have to hire somebody else to do the rest of the watering. So I submitted the proposals, so I would like to at least get some sort of answer, because before I send our baskets out to be planted, I need to make sure that somebody's gonna be in place to water them. And then you know about the third proposal for $14,000. I didn't bother to bring that. And Jerry, I don't know if you had Tommy's salary, you said.
Yeah, that would be my concern, because Tommy was making 10 an hour and he made $6,500 last year. So he's
Okay, so.
he's working more hours than 3 hours a day.
Yeah, but Tommy was watering twice a day.
We're going down to once a day watering. We're doing something different with our soil. We're putting gel in the soil, which will hold the moisture, so it's not gonna need to be watered twice a day anymore. It'll just be once a day.
All right, we have to look into it. We can't make a decision on
Okay,
this tonight.
will there be somebody there to water them, is what I'm saying? Will somebody be committing to watering the baskets? Because the baskets have to go out.
We will make a commitment to have somebody to water.
Okay, so I can send the baskets out to be planted. At least I know somebody's gonna water them. Okay.
From what I can tell from what Angela's proposing here, having Darren do this 7 days a week, doing all the watering, but only once a day, it's approximately the same amount that we spent on Tommy last year.
But he was doing it twice a day.
But we're not gonna have him do it twice.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So we'll table that and discuss it for the next meeting.
Okay, please take into consideration that we want these baskets to live longer than what they lived last year. Because they died prematurely. We lost a good 2 months on those baskets. We paid over $2,000 for them. So we want, if it's a little bit more, to hire somebody a little bit more reliable, then please take that into consideration. I don't want to lose the baskets again this year. The second thing is we are going to be bringing back the Verona Garden Tour. And that's going to be Saturday, June 20th from 10 to 2. We would like to have 13 to 15 houses open. We're already up to 9. It's all over Facebook and people are responding, so we're doing good. So that should be coming back.
Thank you for bringing that back. I was on that the last time.
We're excited.
myself.
Yeah,
Did you
we're
get my
excited.
message on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
I want to
you.
be on it again.
Thank you, yes.
A lot
I
of
got it on
people
my
coming
list.
through town.
Yeah, that was a nice event. Everybody's been asking for it, so
Yeah.
we're excited to bring it back this year.
Thank you.
And then the other thing, not garden related, is I have a question about the sheriff's sales. So, because I'm in real estate, I have a couple investors looking for properties to fix up, not to become landlords, but just to fix them up and sell them. And would I be able to avoid a sheriff's sale, if I had the names of the owners of those properties, to go reach out to them to see if they would be willing to sell, pay off the taxes, and at least avoid a sheriff's sale?
Yes.
Okay. Because I would
Absolutely,
love to do that.
100%.
I have a couple investors that are definitely looking in Verona to do, and that's what they do. They fix them up and then they sell them. They're not landlords. They're not landlords.
Understood.
So if I could, maybe before you do a sheriff's sale, give me the name, I can reach out to them, reach out to the owners and see if they'd be willing to sell.
Angela,
I might be able to
email me? Email me. Yeah, email me. I'll send you
okay.
all